This morning, millions of Americans who received J&J's vaccine are another step closer to receiving an extra dose of protection following a critical vote from the FDA advisory panel. The experts recommending boosters at least 2 months after the initial J&J jab for everyone 18 and over.
With our shot, people do benefit from a booster, but not because of any waning, but because there is still headroom to improve further protection against symptomatic infection.
This comes a day after the same committee endorsed a half-dose Moderna booster for those 65 and up, adults with underlying health conditions, and people at high risk of COVID exposure due to their job. While we await a final ruling from the FDA on both boosters set to happen within days, Chicago is caught in a vaccine mandate standoff. City employees had until Friday to declare their vaccination status. Those who didn't comply will be put on unpaid leave. Chicago's police union pushing back, warning that half of the force is prepared to stay home starting this weekend. Mayor Lori Lightfoot directed her office to file a complaint against the union.
I expect the police officers to honor their oath, not tarnish their badge, and to follow lawful orders and directives.
Police departments across the country are tackling similar challenges, from San Diego to Seattle.
Any loss of an officer right now would be detrimental to our city's current public safety crisis.
Meanwhile, Massachusetts is facing its own hurdles with the looming Sunday vaccine mandate deadline for government workers. The union representing the state's prison guard says roughly 1,500 of its members haven't complied. Governor Charlie Baker said he would activate up to 250 National Guard personnel in anticipation of staffing shortages. And yesterday, the FDA advisory panel also discussed whether it's okay to mix and match vaccines, but didn't move forward with the vote. Meanwhile, back here in New York City, more signs of progress. COVID hospitalizations are down to the double digits compared to the thousands we saw at the height of the pandemic. Kristen, Hallie?
Kathy Park, a lot of people feeling encouraged by that piece of good news. We do want to bring in Dr. Paul Offit. He's a member of the FDA Advisory Committee and the director of the Vaccine Education Center at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Dr. Offit, good morning. So good to see you.
Good morning.
So, Dr. Offit, one of the topics of discussion yesterday was, should the Johnson & Johnson vaccine have been a 2-dose vaccine from the beginning? What say you? Was that a mistake? Was it an oversight?
So when we reviewed the Johnson & Johnson 1-dose vaccine at the end of February, at the time that was a 44,000-person trial. And what you saw was that after 1 dose, you had 74% protection against infection, 85% protection against serious illness. That's excellent. Now, at that time, you knew they were in the midst of doing a 2-dose trial, which now ends up being a 30,000-person trial. And in fact, a few months after we made that decision, that trial concluded. Now we know from those data that the effectiveness against infection after 2 doses of J&J vaccine is 94%, which brings it to a level very similar to the mRNA vaccines. But was that vaccine of value as a single-dose vaccine? Yes, because unlike the mRNA vaccines, a single dose of J&J's vaccine induced something called immunological memory, which tends to be long-lived and is that's the most important aspect in terms of protection against serious illness. So no, I think that was a value as a 1-dose vaccine, and I think it's also now a value as a 2-dose vaccine.
So brass tacks here, Dr. Offit, if you're one of the millions of people in this country who did get the J&J shot, right, what do you need to know this morning? Should you be going out and getting a booster? Should you be waiting maybe for something else, for more guidance on mixing and matching, for example, if you want to get Pfizer or Moderna for maybe longer lasting efficacy? What's your advice to patients who are looking into that?
Right. So the CDC is going to look at this question, I think, next Thursday, this coming Thursday. So I think I would wait to see what the CDC recommends. In all likelihood, they'll recommend this vaccine, J&J's vaccine, as a 2-dose vaccine.
I want to ask you about something that you said, Dr. Offit, because you said that the original shots are actually doing a pretty good job of doing what they're supposed to do, which is keeping people out of the hospital. So is this talk of boosters mixing the messaging here? Should we be focused on making sure that everyone is getting their first shot?
No, I think the booster story has been confusing. And so the question is, what's the goal of the vaccine? If the goal of the vaccine is to prevent serious illness, meaning the kind of illness that causes you to seek medical attention, so, go to a doctor, go to the hospital, go to the ICU, these vaccines are doing that. And the reason is that all you need for that is immunological memory, and immunological memory appears to be fairly long-lived and excellent with these vaccines. But the second reason to give it is, are you trying to protect just against infection, asymptomatic infection, mildly symptomatic infection? Now, see, that's mediated by neutralizing antibodies in your circulation, and that declines over time. And so if you're trying to boost that back up again so that you can protect against asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic infection, then that would be a reason to give a booster. But again, it may not be the last one, because even after, say, a third dose, you can still have a waning of immunity over time. So I think that's what we need to decide exactly. What's the goal of this vaccine? I think certainly a booster dose in someone who's over 65 years of age is clearly a value, because there you do get waning of memory, but it's not so clear that that happens in any other group.
All right, Dr. Paul Offit, thank you for helping us understand a very complicated story. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.